Begin by cutting the plastic straps to open the bike box. Once open, remove the accessory box and place it to the side. Then remove the 4 white clips located on the lower part of the box. With the assistance of a friend, remove the top of the box to reveal the bike. With the assistance of someone who can safely lift the bike, carefully remove the e-bike from the box. Hold your Aventure 3 steady while pushing down the kickstand to keep your e-bike upright. Now remove the protective packaging. Use caution when removing the handlebars and while cutting the plastic ties to ensure that the bike and its components are not damaged. Using a 4mm hex wrench, loosen the 2 stem clamping bolts. With the fork facing in the proper orientation, rotate the stem 180 degrees to face forward. Snug the headset preload bolt using a 4mm hex wrench. Tighten the bolt enough to ensure there is no play in the steering, yet still allowing for free movement when turning the handlebars side to side. Remove the stem faceplate bolts and faceplate using a 4mm hex wrench. Position the handlebar into the stem and replace the stem faceplate. Using the scale lines on the stem and the handlebar, tilt the handlebar to the same angle as the fork or to rider preference. Tighten the faceplate bolts in an X pattern using the 4mm hex wrench. Tighten the bolts to 6 Nm. Remove the brake pad spacer. Note, do not squeeze the brake lever before installing the front wheel and the plastic fork protector. Loosen the front axle nuts and guide the front wheel into the fork. Confirm that the front brake rotor is aligned between the brake pads of the caliper and that the axle is fully seated into the dropouts. Fully tighten the axle nuts using a 15mm open-end wrench. Once tightened, double-check that the wheel is still centered between the fork. Remove your headlight assembly from the accessory box. Use a 3mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the headlight pivot bolt from the bracket on the stem faceplate. Install the headlight bolt and securely tighten the headlight in place using a 3mm hex wrench. Connect the headlight cable by aligning the arrows and firmly pressing the connection together. Align the stem and handlebar assembly to be straight with the front wheel. Use a 4mm hex wrench to tighten the stem clamping bolts. Alternate between the 2 bolts while tightening them and torque each to 6 Nm. Position the display to the desired angle and use a 2mm hex wrench to snug the display clamp bolts in place. Connect the display, throttle, and both brake sensors by aligning the arrows and firmly pressing the connections together. Use 1 piece of wire loom from the accessory box to secure the front brake hose, front sensor cable, display cable, and throttle cable. Use the other piece of wire loom from the accessory box to secure the rear brake hose, rear brake sensor cable, and shift cable housing. Remove the front fender from the box included in the packaging. Use a 4mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the fork brace mounting bolt, and use a 3mm hex wrench to loosen and remove the 2 bolts on each of the fork lowers. Position the front fender onto the fork and replace the upper fork brace bolt using a 4mm hex wrench. Use a 3mm hex wrench to install each of the front fender stay mounting bolts and snug them in place. Adjust the upper fender mount to the desired height and snug the bolt in place using a 4mm hex wrench. Use a 4mm hex wrench to remove the 2 rack mounting bolts from the rear fender bracket. Align the rear rack platform with the 2 mounting holes on the fender bracket. Thread both bolts in first, adjust the rack to be level by aligning the white lines to the mounting bolts, then snug the 2 bolts in place using a 4mm hex wrench. Ensure both lower rack mounting bolts are secure with a 5mm hex wrench, and use a 4mm hex wrench to ensure both of the rear fender stay bolts are secure. The right pedal, marked R, which has a standard clockwise thread, and the left pedal, marked L, has a reversed counterclockwise thread. Apply a small amount of grease to both threads. Thread the right side pedal into the right side crank arm by hand. Use either a 6mm hex key or a 15mm open-end wrench to fully tighten the pedal, turning clockwise. Now, thread the left side pedal into the left side crank arm by hand, using either a 6mm hex key or a 15mm open-end wrench to fully tighten the pedal, turning counterclockwise. Ensure both tires are properly inflated within the recommended pressure listed on the sidewall of the tire. Use a Schrader valve pump to inflate the tires. Open the quick-release clamp around the seat post and remove it. The suspension seat post has a preload adjustment that can be set to rider preference. To adjust the preload of the suspension seat post, Use a 6mm hex wrench on the bottom end and turn clockwise to increase preload or counterclockwise to reduce the preload. Apply a thin layer of grease to the inside of the seat tube. Reinstall the seat post to the rider's desired height. Do not raise the seat post higher than the minimum insertion line. When securing the seat post, ensure that the saddle is aligned parallel with the frame of the bike. Close the quick-release clamp firmly to secure the seat in place. To charge the battery, plug the charger cable into the charge port on the battery. Be sure to plug the bike in first, then into the wall outlet. Once powered, the charging brick will turn from green to red once it begins to charge. Once the indicator light turns green again, the battery is fully charged. Note: when removing the plug from the battery, you must press the release lever on the charging tip. To eject the battery, press and hold the power button for 3 seconds to turn on the display. Hold the plus and minus buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds to access the settings menu. To remove the battery, select the battery lock option by pressing the center button and then press the center button again to eject the battery. The display will power off and then the battery will eject. Press in the battery handle to remove the battery from the bike. To install the battery, insert the bottom end first and then tilt the top into the bike. Press it firmly in place and an audible click should be heard. The battery will sit flush to the frame. To activate your front and rear lights, hold down the plus button for 3 seconds. To turn them off, hold the plus down once again. Press the left or right arrows to engage either turn signal. To cancel, press the same arrow button again or simply wait 15 seconds and the signal will self-cancel. To pair your bike and activate the 4G service, power on the bike by holding down the power button, then press and hold the plus and minus buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds to access the settings menu. Scroll down on the menu and select Connect to App. You will see a QR code appear on the display. Open the Aventon app and press Pair. Scan the QR code with your phone and select Pair Now. You can then name your bike and choose a bike to display on your app home screen. Press Save to access the app home screen. If a firmware update is available, a pop-up will appear and prompt the update. Press Update Now and allow the bike firmware to be updated. You can also check for available updates by pressing the More Settings button, scrolling down and pressing Update Firmware. Once the firmware is up to date, a pop-up will appear to activate the IoT service. Select Agree and activate the IoT service. You can also activate the IoT service by pressing the More Settings button, scrolling down, and pressing IoT service. 4G connection is subscription-based. The first year of service is free when you purchase a bike with ACU technology. Following the free year of service, 4G connection can be renewed through the Aventon app on either a monthly or annual basis. The subscription is not a necessity for the bike to operate. However, certain remote connectivity features will no longer be available if you do not choose to renew the subscription. For more information on using the Aventon app, check out our how-to videos. Enjoy riding your new Aventure 3.